Alrighty. Well, thank you all for coming here today. If you're currently in this information session, you're here to learn how to study abroad as a business administration major. My name is Justin Javier. I'll have an introduction slide a little bit later. I'm here with Bonnie, who's here from the UCI Study Abroad Center. And so we'll have a little chance to go over opportunities, applications, kind of everything you need to know if you're interested in studying abroad as a business major. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Bonnie and get us kicked off. But thank you all so much for being here. If you're online as well, this is being recorded. It'll take about 2 weeks time to get back to you all. So if you RSVP this information session, these slides will also be made available to you as well. So thank you much for being here today.
Awesome, thank you. Can you hear me if I use this? I just got to get used to hearing myself. So I'm going to go through the slides. So my name is Bonnie Hoos. I'm an alum of UCI, got my bachelor's degree here too in a different school, but I've been a staff member for over 24 years. I studied abroad in Italy, so I know what this is like and the experiences that you may have. The biggest challenge for me, I always like to share, is that this was the first time when I studied abroad that I went abroad alone completely. I had traveled with my parents, but my parents are from Argentina and Ecuador, so it was always with them, to the family. They held my passports, they did everything for me, and I just kind of went along and had fun. So doing my study abroad in Italy was the first time where I held my own passport, I was at LAX alone, doing all of that by myself. There's a lot of rewards, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but one of the biggest ones for me is actually discovering this career. I didn't know that it was a career to work on a college campus. People don't talk a lot about higher education jobs, and to actually work in international education, sending students to do things like this, something that changed my life completely. So you never know the types of opportunities that can come up. They might not even come up for a while. It might not be right away when you come back from studying abroad, but it can definitely be life-changing. And I think we're going to have Justin introduce himself more.
Perfect. Yes. And so as I mentioned, my name is Justin Javier, one of the associate directors here at the Paul Merage School of Business. So I work with you all in your advising aspects. A little bit about myself. I'm an alum of UCSD and SCSD for my degrees. In my undergraduate program, I never had the chance to study abroad. I probably would say it's one of my biggest regrets as an undergraduate student. But I did have the chance to go to both the Dominican Republic and Guatemala when I was an undergraduate student for 1-week service trips. So something very similar in that regard. I love traveling internationally. My wife and I do it as much as we can, when we can. And then for the last 2 years and upcoming this spring, I actually lead the Paul Merage School of Business International Residential Program with Professor Spangenberg, where we go to Switzerland. But yeah, these are just a handful of images, some of them with our students. I love Disneyland. I took a picture in front of Zermatt, which is the real, I guess, Matterhorn, which kind of blew my mind because I see it all the time in Disneyland. But yeah, just some images and a little bit about myself. But I'm here to support you all in terms of program planning, bigger major specifically. Myself and all of our advisors are able to do that. But we'll go over a little bit more specifics in terms of what does that look like as a business major later on in the presentation.
Thank you. And then lucky for you, we also have your peers. So, you're going to hear my stories, but they're not as relevant. I studied abroad when they still had the lira in Italy. So it was a long time ago. So I'm going to have the 3 panelists come on up, take a seat. And whoever wants to start, if you can just introduce yourself, your name, it's on the screen, but they can hear it, major, and where you studied abroad. You want to go ahead and start first?
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Pards. I graduated, so I'm no longer a senior. I majored in business administration and had an emphasis in organization and management. And then this winter and spring, I studied abroad at Yonsei University in Seoul, Korea, and I stayed there for 3 months after I graduated. So I was there all summer.
Everyone, my name's Paul, 3rd year business administration major. I'm associate marketing. I studied in London, going through your London School of Economics program. There's only a 3-week program, but I definitely emphasize if you choose to do that, definitely stay a little bit longer. Like I stayed around in Europe for an extra month and just kind of traveled around, went to 10 other countries. So I highly recommend doing that. That's a lot of fun.
Hey guys, I'm Justin. I'm a senior biz admin major. I studied abroad at Yonsei last year, so during the fall, so from August to December. Honestly, really, really great experience. Of course, I think we'll all talk a little bit more about how our experiences went. But yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And one thing to note is, I don't know their life stories, but These are students just like you all. We send many, many students who've either traveled some, the majority have never gone abroad before. Many don't have a passport. Many haven't experienced purchasing airfare, things like that. So it's for everybody. It's not just for students who are world travelers who understand how to do all of this. It's for every single student. So you probably already know a little bit about the benefits. That's why you're here, because you've already heard that this could be an amazing thing to do, study abroad experience. But we always still like to highlight all of it, why it's different than traveling on vacation and doing that kind of thing. There's academic benefits, in the professional and personal benefits that will carry with you forever and ever and ever. I still talk about it almost like if it was just yesterday. So the first point I put on here is one of the neat things is you might be able to take similar classes that you're doing here, maybe international business, things like that. But what's unique is you can take different classes and they can still count for your degree requirement. So some examples that I put on there that I just kind of quickly found were like bank management in China. How different might that concept and topic be? Learning it there. What I put, startup crash course in Germany, international business and sustainability in Denmark. And learning about, like, for example, sustainability is a very hot topic, I know right now. And learning this from other countries who maybe are doing things differently, maybe better in some ways, can be so powerful for you as you're gaining your education, your degree. You gain a whole new global perspective in your field of study, potentially hands-on, more hands-on experiences, potentially smaller classes. It does depend where you go. Classes could still be big. You make lifelong friendships. That's probably the number one thing we hear from return students. Like, wow, we have connected with so many people from all over the world because of our study abroad experience. You develop new problem-solving techniques, communication skills that you maybe didn't realize you had. Increase your employability. There's a lot of studies if you want to Google that. And if you're trying to tell your parents and showcase why you should be doing something like this, or whoever supports you in your education, there's a lot of studies that show the student who studies abroad gets a job faster than a student who doesn't study abroad. A student who studies abroad eventually has a higher salary than a student who didn't study abroad. Lots of things come into play like that. And then, of course, personally, self-esteem, independence. Some of you already have good stuff in that area, but many of us weren't so self-confident or independent until we studied abroad, and how to take the bus by ourselves and how to maneuver and figure out everything with those who we rely on further away than normal. But our returnees, if I can get a little bit of feedback from all of you, benefits you gained in any of these areas or all three, academically, personally, professionally, from your time abroad.
So I can go first since I just finished my study abroad program. So when I was in at UNC University, I took 4 classes. So I took 2 business classes since I was a business administration major. I took principles of marketing and international communications. My other 2 classes was understanding K-pop, just because it was a pretty easy class to take. And then I also took something called survival Korean, where you basically learn a lot of like different Korean phrases. They kind of get you through like day-to-day like activities, and you have to do like real life examples. So when I was taking that class, I'd actually go up to people and like speaking really broken Korean. And after they thought I could speak it, it would just go downhill from there. But it was a pretty fun class. There's a lot of other students there from all across the world. I liked a lot of friends from like the US, from like the other UCs. There's also a lot of people from like the UK, like especially like England, that were there as well. Other classes were pretty different from what I had at UCI. Especially my business classes, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of slacked off in my business classes. It was all over like Zoom lectures, and it was just like one like 5-page paper that I had to write at the end of the year on like different topics that he was talking about. So I kind of breezed through most of that class for most of the year, but it was a little bit interesting to see how like committed a lot of students I met at Korea were with their studies. There's like if you guys are deciding to go to Korea, their library is actually insane. Like it's 2 different big buildings. There's hundreds of computers. There's hundreds of like study spaces, and it's like a lot of free like accommodations that they have there too. Personally, I met like so many great people. I'm still in contact with almost everyone that I met in Korea, including the people that were studying abroad there, as well as people that actually lived in Korea. I was part of like numerous different clubs, organizations. I met like a lot. I was like just doing whenever anything I could, just to kind of like make the most out of my experience. And then professionally, it's pretty cool to have like that on your like your resume that you're studying abroad, that you kind of went to a different university, you interacted with people of different cultures and stuff like that. UCAP actually does internship programs that you can kind of apply to. I did apply to them, but I wasn't accepted in those. But I did 2 internships while I was in Korea as a product marketing intern and a product design intern for 2 startups in Seoul. So that was pretty cool. I got to kind of like interact with like a lot of like other like Koreans and see how kind of like we differentiated in the way we kind of approach problems and how we wanted to kind of like find solutions. So that was pretty cool as well. And I thought like the entire thing is a pretty cool experience that I had. And right now, like I'm recruiting for like full-time roles, and that's like one thing I keep bringing up. It's like, oh, I was in Korea. I met people with like different backgrounds, and like we work together and stuff like that. So it was pretty beneficial, and I would definitely recommend it.
I'll say for me, at least.
That's exactly right.
academically, LSC is always trying to be different, I guess, London School of Economics. So it's really only like a 3-week long program. So it's only like 4 classes, like a couple months long. It was just a really intense, like 1 class. So I took AI, governance, and management, and like integration. We kind of learned how to take like businesses that are operational and how to integrate AI into them, which is a very interesting class. It was 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, like 3 to 4 hours long, which was pretty intensive. And then you got discussions in the afternoon, which honestly is where I got the most out of it. It was like between 30 people, and I still talk to those people at least weekly still, because it was over the summer. And one of the girls was from Germany. She's coming in like a few weeks, and she's gonna stay in LA. We're gonna go up and get coffee, and I'll try to show her around a little bit. So you can get a lot of international connections for sure. Like I remember I was just sitting around like the lunch table at some coffee place, and there's like a few people from Brazil, a few from Dubai, a few from Germany, and a few from Africa, and then we're all just having to be like a political discussion about because it was like voting at that time in the UK. I had no clue what's going on, but it was just really cool to witness that. And then regarding personally, you definitely learn a lot, like grow, like growing as oneself is kind of cheesy, but you definitely do for sure. Like there was just one issue that I had, at least when I got there, I didn't know you had to pack a towel. So I thought you could just buy one at the store in London. That is not the case. The closest department store is like an hour away. So I'd use like a microfiber cloth for like the first week. Just absolutely not the best thing to do. And then professionally, LSE had a lot of really cool programs that you could go to, like a lot of different professional networking events. Like I got to just like have like a glass of wine with my professor. It's just definitely something you don't really do as much in the US. They kind of blur that social and professional line a little bit. So
No, a lot of great stuff. So for me, academically, I didn't really take any business classes. I was kind of just taking really easy classes. I took K-pop. I took just like a regular beginner level Korean language class, then also just a few media classes. I think for me, I just kind of wanted to really embrace the Korean culture, and I had a lot of credits like already. So, but definitely that's something I kind of regret, not just taking business classes over there and really embracing that. So I think academic wise, not really too much insight I can give. But like for personal and professional, personal starting off, I honestly think I grew so much as a person. I know it's like really cliche to say, but I truly think so. So not only did I like study abroad in like Korea, but I also traveled to like Hong Kong, Taiwan, all these places. And a lot of times I did it by myself. So scary just because I did not know the language at all. But I think because I pushed myself to study abroad, like it was such a big leap for me. I really wanted to like make that next leap into seeing how I like solo traveling. I realized it's not too bad. It does get a little scary, like staying in hostels. It is definitely a very different experience, but I think it's something that we all should just try and push ourselves to do. And honestly, it's really cool. I think in Taiwan, I met a few friends from that like stayed in Bali for like a couple of months, and they're now like just full-time solo travelers. And it's just like the stories they're talking about. For them, the way that they travel is they just like they pick a random spot on the map and they just walk there, and then they just kind of see what happens if they get lost, and that means that they're doing the right thing. They want to get lost, and like that's the point of why they're exploring. Not really any itinerary, just kind of going with the flow. Honestly, coming from like a lot of friends who like have like a full Google sheet calendar of everything they're gonna have their itinerary, it's like it was such a different experience to have. And honestly, just a lot of cool insights from a lot of different people. And then finally, professionally. So professionally, for like internships in Korea, I didn't really do too much of that. I was kind of just recruiting on my own. So for those people who are afraid, if I'm planning to study abroad in the fall semester, I'm afraid it's going to really interfere with my recruiting season. Honestly, like it will be a little bit hard because you will be doing a lot of interviews like at midnight. But very similar to what Parth was saying, it does kind of give you a bit of like an edge compared to your competitors. So in a lot of my interviews, like final rounds, I was saying, hey, it's like 2 a.m. at midnight. And that kind of gave me a little bit of they gave me a little bit more patience when it came to, oh, if I messed up on a part or messed up on a behavioral, they gave me some like insight a lot of time compared to my other peers. And I think that's really why I got a lot of offers over there, because it's kind of like I was the kid who like was taking interviews at like 2 a.m. at midnight and just doing my best. And yeah.
Am I back on? That's amazing. I do love that. You stand out. They're going to remember, which is the one that was interviewing at 2 a.m. So I love that. Thank you. So study abroad options. I'm having trouble staying far, so I'm going to look this way. Actually, I'm going to look a little bit this way. So you can do a lot of different things, as you've even heard here. You can study abroad in your major. I mean, that's kind of the thing we hope you do. I also didn't do that, and I regret it a little bit. I do wish I would have experienced my field of study overseas rather than doing language and culture, which was fine. But that's where you get the most insight in your field of study. But you can study for your minor, GEs, language, all kinds of things. You can do an internship for credit or no credit, as you've heard. There are research opportunities as well as service learning opportunities. So it isn't something where you're having to always choose. Do I stay here and do an internship or do I study abroad? You can study abroad and do all of those things that people say you should do to gain experience and enhance your resume. There's a lot of different program options. They mentioned some of the acronyms you might have heard already. UCEAP is our biggest one. We also have UCI programs through the faculty and through the schools themselves. The key there is knowing that there's a lot of options for UCI students. So when you come and work with us at the Study Abroad Center, we can explain them. We can show you the differences. We can find you something that works for you financially, for credit, for the type of experience you want. And you can pretty much go anywhere in the world. We do assess where you're going, and sometimes if the State Department is saying it's a little dangerous, we may double take or think about that one or maybe not allow you to go. But pretty much around the world, you're able to study abroad for a summer, a quarter, a semester. There are spring break programs, there are winter programs, there are some programs embedded within a course. I don't know about Paul Mirage, but there's so much variety, and more faculty are trying to do these kinds of experiences. But I know Paul Mirage has always been big on sending their students overseas. And the costs do vary. So again, you come in and we help you to identify, okay, cost is the primary thing you want to keep similar to your time here at UCI. We're going to try to find the programs that are comparable. Can't remember if I have a slide on costs. So if we do, I'll get to that. If not, I'll expand on that a little bit more. No, okay, great. So finances and affordability is probably, along with credit, the biggest thing that students have questions about. The nice thing is it's more affordable than you think, because there are many programs that are comparable to your time here at UCI. And then there are some programs like in Korea that cost less than your time here at UCI. And that's including airfare, housing, tuition, everything that you would need. So we can also point you to those programs. And maybe that is why Korea is so popular here at UCI. If you receive financial aid and rely heavily on your financial aid, this is the best time to go abroad. It goes with you on your study abroad program, on a UC study abroad program, and it adjusts to the cost of your program. And so if your program is in London, might be a little more expensive than here because there are destinations that do cost more, then your financial aid will adjust to cover that. And then scholarships. We're always sending information about scholarships. We have a webpage set up for that so you can apply. Some are offered through the financial aid office themselves, the scholarships opportunities that are offered here. They can be specific to study abroad students, and they can also be just, you're receiving it because you're a college student and you get to take it overseas because you're participating in the UC study abroad program. So we even have sometimes scholarships where it feels like we're begging students to apply, like some in Sweden, for example. We're like, please apply. Can't tell you you're going to get it, but you're the only applicant. So stuff like that happens. You know, don't exclude yourselves. A lot of times students think, well, I've never gotten one. I don't think I deserve it. I don't know. I can't showcase myself. That's not true. Every single one of you here has a story to tell. We can help you. We're happy to help you. You can meet with us and we could, you know, pick your history apart and say, okay, yes, highlight that. Do this, do that. You all have merit or need for these scholarships. And then here's a mini example of like a cost comparison. I believe I did Korea. in this scenario. Right now, I was looking online, UCI costs you around, for a California resident, it's costing you around $40,000 to be a student here at UCI per year. And I believe it was 33 weeks of classes of schooling. You go to Korea University, it's $36,000 for a California resident with housing, airfare, everything, and it's 43 weeks. So it's even longer and less expensive. So that's just as an example. I'm not just pretending I studied abroad. I don't want all of you to think it's just for somebody who has a ton of money. And then it is more beneficial to go during the year, fall, winter, spring, or whole year in terms of financial aid. During the summer here at UCI, it's not as good of aid during the summer. Returning feedback. Did any of you receive financial aid? How did you budget yourself for studying abroad? Anything in this regard?
Yeah, I think for this one I can start. I got a pretty hefty financial aid, and definitely that was like a big reason why I could go. And I think pretty much like I think a good chunk of the study abroad experience was paid for through like financial aid, which I was super like grateful for. I think also during the actual time during study abroad, like I know a couple of us would always like find a place that was like super cheap over in Korea, like everything's cheap over there. So we'd find meals that are like $3 and we just try and like do that from like Monday to Wednesday, and then maybe Thursday to Saturday and Sunday, that's when we'll kind of splurge. Well, buy things a little bit more expensive. But that's kind of like how I budgeted. Honestly, looking back, I would kind of say like if you have the ability, like just this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Really just like don't care too much about money, of course, if like that's okay with you guys. Just because like at the end of the day, one thing I really regretted is not trying new places, not trying to explore more places just because of the money setback. And I definitely kind of like wish I explored like, oh, what if I tried different cuisines that I wasn't used to and wasn't really comfortable going to try, but push myself outside that comfort zone.
I gotta be honest. So for my program, it was London is probably one of the most expensive cities to live in. So my housing was a lot, and also regarding housing, I had to live outside of the dorms because that also got booked up. But I ended up getting a better deal than the people in dorms did, which was good. But my program, since it was also during the summer, was not covered by financial aid. Since London, at least for this program, you have 3 sessions. You could do summer session 1, 2, or 3, and they reach 3 weeks long, or you could spend 1 full year abroad. But I didn't really know if I wanted to fully commit to 1 full year. And so I just decided to go for the summer session. But there are scholarships that you can. I don't remember exactly which ones I applied for, but I did get a good amount of money that's outside even the UCs that you could just look up, like study abroad scholarships. There's a huge list that comes up. I applied to a few of those, and they gave me a few thousand that definitely reduced the cost. But if you were looking specifically at LSE, like summer session 1 and summer session 2, like to double both those sessions, for some reason, it's a massive price increase. And that's why I only stayed for 1 week, or not 1 week, but only 1 session, and then just stayed after and traveled the rest. But that's sort of my financial. But also, just one thing to add is, like he was saying, definitely try your best. That money is very important, but like the experience that I got, like this is probably one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. So hopefully I can keep traveling again and maybe go next summer as well. But I also thought the summer was really fun because you don't miss a lot during the year.
So for me, I did get like a bit of financial aid, so I kind of used that to pay off like the tuition, but most of the stuff I did was like out of pocket. I kind of blew through most of my savings. I'm going to be pretty honest when I was studying abroad in Korea. And it's just like kind of like Justin said, like stuff in Korea is like probably half the price as it is in California. And I felt like I never really felt the need to like kind of limit myself on where I was going or what I was spending. Because like in my mind, I'm basically getting double the value like for half the price. So I never really felt like I need to like be like, all right, I'm only gonna spend like $5 today or like $10 tomorrow. Like Justin was saying, like you can get meals for like $3-4. Like at Yonsei University, it's like a college town. There's like 3 universities in Sinchon where it's located. There's a lot of like restaurants there that know you're a college student, and they purposely like keep the prices pretty low for like $5 to $10 for like a really good meal. So like I would just like eat there almost every single day. Sometimes the store owners are a little bit like nice foreigners, and they kind of give you So at least for me, they give me like free meals sometimes. So like I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. And plus like you want to say like cafeteria, that's probably one of the best like bang for your bucks ever. They have like so many different meals throughout the day and it's like $3. And it's actually pretty good. You probably get full off of it and you won't eat for a couple of hours. But like besides that, like when I was trying to like most of my budgeting kind of went to like kind of traveling and more like activities and kind of like having that experience. Now more towards food. Like when I was in Korea, I went to Jeju Island, I went to Busan like twice, I went to a few other cities. And I just had honestly, I just focused on having a good time. I was just like definitely making sure I was checking my bank account, making sure I could pay everything off and not having to like call my parents and be like, all right, I'm spending way too much money. But like I said, like the cost of living in Korea is so cheap that you really don't need to worry. If you can like be here at UCI right now, you can definitely go to Korea and not have to worry about any sort of cost.
And oh, sorry, I can add one more thing. Like, I think something, no, I completely love the points they said. Something to also add is if you guys have the budget or the opportunity to explore other countries, please do that. Because, like, for example, if you're in Asia, it's so much cheaper, for example, to fly from Korea to Japan rather than booking a flight from the US to Japan. Like, since you're already in that continent, why not just, use it to your advantage? I'm sure also with Europe, like, I'm sure you can talk about like the experiences of, visiting other countries and how cheap it is and stuff like that. So yeah.
No, yeah, just to add on to that, especially while I was there, like every weekend, you could do like LSU set up this thing where you could go to like Cambridge or go to Oxford and they had all these little trips, but those filled up like that. So I did not exactly sign up for those. But they had like I think it was EasyJet. They're basically like the Spirit version of Europe, but still pretty safe. But I think it was like for $100 round trip, I was able to go to Amsterdam for the weekend. And that was definitely one of my favorite cities to visit in the Netherlands, along with go to like Copenhagen and Denmark. That was great. Went there the following weekend just with a group of guys and gals, and that was definitely an experience. And then we bounced around other countries once the program finished. But and then even like Sweden, I met some friends, and then like the Swedish people are so nice. Like there's this group of girls and guys that just let me stay at their house for like a week. And I was really shocked. I would never let someone do that and for like a couple of days. But I mean, that was just an experience that I can never have again. So.
Okay, so they touched upon it a little bit, but where do they live? It does vary by program. So you might be in a dorm, you might be in a department, you might be in a homestay with a family who's from that country and you're living with them. You might choose a program where you have all the options and you get to choose. You might sign up for a program where everyone does the homestay or everyone does the dorm, or you have to choose and find your own housing and things like that. So it does vary. And what can you do besides academics? Obviously traveling, as I mentioned, but other things, interning, volunteering, that can be popular in some of the locations you're going to. Taking personal enrichment classes. I know when I went to Italy, they offered cooking. So of course I'm going to take cooking and I never cooked before and I still don't cook too much, but I learned how to cook tiramisu and pasta. Join clubs, organizations, be a regular person in that country. Join the gym, take your runs, but instead of, running around here at UCI, you're running by the Eiffel Tower. It's just different placement, but you live that same sort of life. Maybe join a sports team. My favorite story is from a peer advisor from some years back. Never did sports at all. And she decided in Spain she would be a soccer player. And so she joined an intramural soccer team, never played before. And they took her in. They loved her because she was American. And then they got to know her. And she got to travel throughout Europe with that team. Even though she wasn't a starter, she wasn't the best player. She had this like life-changing thing because she thought, you know what, why not step out of my comfort zone and do something different? So you can do so much. Returnees, where did you live and what did you do outside of classes? Maybe beyond the traveling, but you could share traveling too.
So I lived in like it's called SK Global. It's basically the international housing. There's like 2 different dormitories. So I had like a single, and then it cost me I think like $2,000 for 4 months, and it was pretty spacious. I had like my own bathroom. I also had like a little mini fridge too, and there's like a twin size bed. So I lived there when I was like a student at Yonsei, and then after when I stayed there for 3 more months, I lived in something called a Goshi one. It's like a really small room with like a really small bathroom, but it's like very cheap. It's like $200 a month. So I stayed there in Hongdae and Sinchon for around 3 months. Outside class, I was pretty busy. I'm not gonna lie, like I skipped most of my classes just because I felt there's more better things to do when like my professors were just kind of doing Zoom lecture. I had the same business professor for 2 of my classes, and he's kind of reused slides, so I never really felt like if I missed one of his classes, it's really gonna hurt me. I was part of 3 different clubs while I was there. I was part of a mentorship club where they basically pair you with a Korean mentor and then with a bunch of other international students. I was part of that. I was part of a club called IYC, which is basically a Korean foreigner exchange club, and basically hosted events maybe like every 1 week or 2 weeks. And at the end of like the year, they basically do something called an MT, which is like a basically a little retreat. You basically go like an hour and a half in Seoul, and you basically spend from around like 6 p.m. to like 10, 8, like maybe 8, 10 a.m. like next morning. It's kind of like drinking with like every single person. So it's pretty fun. And then I also do like a business club. That's how I got my internship after I didn't get it through UCAP. It's called IBI. I applied to it. I had to go through an interview process. I joined it. There's like speaker events, kind of similar to business clubs here. On top of that, I was also kind of like I was still part of like student government here. I was part of ACCI last year. So I had to still do meetings and stuff like that. I also was doing some contract work for Adobe. And then I found like a lot of different like foreigner Korean like meetup stuff online that I ended up going to. A couple was like Y&A, which basically you pay like 10,000 won, which is like $8 for 2 hours. And you just talk with other foreigners and Koreans, kind of practice some language exchange. I found some like clubs that kind of focus more on socializing, like going to like bars and clubs and stuff like that. And I also found some like more casual group like hangout spots, but like just like a lot of other different students. Overall, I had like a pretty fun time. I was pretty much active morning to night. All the students that I met, we probably went out like every single night. To be honest, I know Justin would agree with that too. It was just kind of like the culture in Korea. Like everyone studies really hard during the day. The second it hits like evening. Like in Sinchon, there's like so many bars and so many restaurants. Like everywhere you go, people are gonna be drinking. It's like right in your face, like from like 12 p.m. to like 5, 10 a.m. the next morning. Like it's pretty big in Korea. So I did spend like a lot of like, some nights, especially during like midterms when you're like stressed out, just kind of going out with like Korean students and like some other foreigner students, going to bars and stuff like that. So it's usually really cheap. It's like $1. So it's really easy to kind of have fun while you're there and kind of like relieve stress. Yeah, that was like kind of my experience. It's kind of going out a lot more.
Yeah, I kind of went back to the housing thing. I kind of wish my housing was that cheap. I gotta be honest. So for 3 weeks, I think I almost spent like $2,000, and that was like a good deal, to be honest. But yeah, that was. Besides that, I definitely recommend looking up like depending on what time of year you're going. Like I was able, since I was there in the summer, I was able to go to Wimbledon, which was really fun. I went for the first few days since I thought Wimbledon was just like one big day, but you can't even go to that one big day because that's like when all the high royal family and stuff gets to go on the center court. So I got to see a lot of the lower court stuff, which was really cool. And then like the British Grand Prix was there. I'm not even really an F1 fan, but that was still really cool to go to. Like I was probably like 5 feet from Lewis Hamilton. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but that was a really cool experience. And then there's just like London is one of those cities where there's so much to do. Like I was doing something every day, all day, and I still probably explored like less than half the city. Like they got the British Museum, you have the London Eye, you have like literally everything there. There were probably like 50 different museums, and I probably went to like 15. I know that the Churchill Museum was really good. And then also the food is amazing. But to clarify, the British food is pretty terrible, I'll be honest. But it's such an international city that like the German food was really good, a lot of schnitzels. They had insanely good Indian food, Italian food. It's a super multicultural city. So you're going to meet people from all over. And just like going out and like you said, you get to meet a lot of people. You're going to meet a lot of locals and ask them where the best spots are to go. Like I found this cute little like park where there's like this adorable little cafe, and you could just watch people play tennis all day while you're studying for like your exam or something. And that's another thing to add is that at least for LSE, that you have to take the course for a grade that affects your GPA. So I know that there were some other people that were studying abroad that did not go to class at all because it did not affect their GPA or anything. Well, I'm like, look, you have to lock in these last few days. But yeah, that was really my experience.
Yeah, pretty much like a very similar experience to Parth. Some things I did pretty differently are, so every week the UCAP program, they're super awesome. They led kind of like outings with like maybe like 20 to like 40 to 60 people from the UCAP class. So that's just from UCs from all of the like different parts of California. And what's really cool about it is like they pay for it all. You just have to make a security deposit to make sure you don't back out last minute. You go on trips like, go into different parts of Seoul that, you wouldn't be able to like know about and explore. There's a lot of museums for free. And then also there was like this time where it's called like the Nanso cooking show, where it's kind of like they don't talk, and it's kind of just like a very comedic show. And then they bring out audience members. Like I was able to be brought out. I felt like that was my moment. It was really cool. And I got a little picture of it too. I have it on my wall. Super, super awesome experience. But also outside of that, like I think I really, really got close to a lot of locals, not from mainly from clubs, but also from like I'm a big basketball fan. I hooped over at the Yonsei gym a lot. Wasn't a part of the team, I'm too short for that, but it was just fun, like kind of hitting a lot of like, 5v5s with them and then just go and get some dinner after with some locals. And then also I am like really into like rock climbing. So I just went to like a really close rock climbing gym right nearby. Met a lot of cool people. They're so strong over there, and I actually took a climbing outdoor trip over like on the other side of Korea. With a couple of my buddies I met over there. Super hard, but again, such a fun experience. Kind of similar to what like both of them said. For me, what I really got out of it, not was really from the classes, of course, that's super important, but it's also just about like, you pushing yourself, trying new things, like trying new clubs, that's Korea was the reason why I got into rock climbing. And just like trying to socialize and meet as many people as possible.
Thank you. Okay. So one of the main programs, as I mentioned, the students participate on is UCEAP. I pulled together just kind of a small sampling of the opportunities that come up when you do a program search on their website. There's a lot more that come up. I think I mostly put options in English, so there's a few that you need another language here, but just as an example, so Bocconi University in Italy, it is actually one of like #1 European university for business. So that would be a fantastic one for you to study at. Business and economics in the Netherlands. So you see like the first few are specific for your field of study. So you for sure can go on those programs. Then there's other ones like in Mexico, the Autonomous University, Barbados, and Ghana. They are like us, a regular university, not focused on a specific field of study, but they have a lot of really good related field courses there for you. So these kind of came up. There were a lot more. So I just put Australia, Canada, China, all these other programs and countries came up where you can do not just GEs. A lot of times students come in and say, I want to do GEs. I think that's what they say to do. You can do upper division coursework. And I think we're going to get into those details in a second. Another one is some of the other UC campuses like Davis, LA, Berkeley. They also offer their own summer programs that you all are eligible to participate in as well. And so I highlighted a few. Through Berkeley, they have some global internships. In Portugal, there's an entrepreneurship program. In Davis, global management, communication internships. And then at UCLA, this international business and law program you go to both countries. You're in Netherlands and France in the summer. So like I said, again, the categories are so many options. We're there to help you. So it's great on one hand, but some students feel overwhelmed, but that's why the Study Abroad Center exists. So we can help you narrow down your choices and actually send you somewhere to study abroad. Okay.
Perfect. All right. So within the undergraduate programs office and studying abroad as a business major, these are probably the most common questions that we get. And so we want to do our best to address some of them here. So there are different requirements that you as business majors have to complete in order to graduate from the School of Business. One of them being what's known as your international business requirement. So there are 3 different ways that students can meet that. One of them, you could take a course here at UCI, that's Management 128, 144, 154. Those courses can overlap your emphases requirements, your additional business electives, but it's if you don't want to study abroad. Now, if you choose an approved UCEAP program, that's also a way that you can meet this requirement. And the great thing about that is that you don't actually necessarily have to take business classes. You can go to Bocconi University and take a pasta making class, and that is what will satisfy your international business requirement. You can take no business courses, but as long as you're taking an approved UCEAP program, that is what will satisfy international business. And then the final way is through international residential. That's another course that we offer here in the business school. So we always like to highlight that because some students ask, do I need to take a business class to meet my international business requirement? The answer is no. You can simply go abroad and take all GE courses and still meet international business. Something else we'd like to notify, or not notify, but make note of is that you cannot take any core courses while you're abroad. So all your Management 101, 102, 105, 107, 109, 110, and 191W, those are all required to be taken in residence at UCI. So you can never take a core course while you're studying abroad, even though that core courses or titles like that may exist at those institutions, they won't come back and count for anything towards your business major that is core And the same thing can be said for the accounting series. So if you're a student that's emphasizing in accounting at UCI, the business school, we don't accept accounting courses abroad just because accounting outside the US is different than what it is here from our faculty's perspective. Now, students can fulfill, obviously, besides major courses, you can take GE requirements, a very common way that students meet that, as well as what we call other business elective courses. So you have emphases classes, and then the most common thing that we probably see our students taking are business electives. So there's 2 that are required for every student in the business school. Those sometimes are like 190 classes, for example, or other areas. That's what you can take while you're studying abroad. And something to make note of, because I think sometimes students every year, they might have taken 4 business classes. The maximum that will allow you to transfer back and utilize towards your degree is 2 business courses. However, 2 business classes can satisfy 3 major requirements. And what I mean by that is if you choose 2 190 courses from LSE, you meet your 2 business electives, and then you automatically meet your international business requirement because you've studied abroad through a UCEAP program. So that is the way to take 2 business courses abroad and technically have it meet 3 requirements here at the School of Business. Now, again, if you take more than 2 courses, that's great. You can take 4 management courses abroad, but at most we can use 2 towards your major, and then the other 2 could be used as elective units to get you to 180, for example. But we always make note of that because sometimes students get confused. I took 4 courses. How come I can't use 2 for an emphasis and 2 for my business electives? It's because there's a certain number of requirements that you have to meet in residence at the university. Yes, there's a question.
Study abroad for, like, let's say I chose to do like study abroad first quarter in like Spain and then the next one in London, would the 2 different quarters count, or is it only just one time?
Yeah, so to your question, if you do multiple programs, it's still at most only 2 business classes from all programs combined can be used towards your business major. But again, you can go to Spain your first quarter and take 2 semester courses and have them meet 2 international business requirements or 2 business major requirements, and then you can go to another country, and those can just be used as elective units to get you closer to 180. For most business majors, you don't have enough units to get you to 180. So if you ever look at your 2 or 4-year plan, there's a lot of these words that say elective on there, and that can just feel like elective courses for graduation. But that's a good question. So I know as part of your study abroad experience, you're required to meet with one of us as an academic advisor, and that's primarily just to kind of break down and understand, well, what are you looking to do? Are you looking to take major courses? Are you looking to take GE classes? Are you just simply going because you want the experience of being abroad? So we would be more than happy to meet with you all. That can be done via an appointment on our MyMirage system, or I know sometimes our appointments are a little bit limited, so we also allow drop-in hours to meet for that particular requirement for your study abroad area. But I think one of the easiest ways, or if you as a student want to know and guarantee yourself, I want to take a class for my business major, I want to know exactly what it will satisfy, there's something known as the pre-approved EAP electives for business administration majors. And that actually can be found on the Study Abroad website. So for those of you that are online as well, if you go to the Study Abroad main page for UCI, you can click academics, and then you can say best programs for my major and my minor. Oh, wait, this changed. Oh, studying abroad in your major and minor requirements. And then business, and then business administration. And then here it kind of gives you all that information I just kind of talked about. Ideally completing lower division requirements before you leave, can't take certain core courses or accounting sequences. But then there's this one tab that says pre-approved upper division business electives. And this is actually a list of courses that our faculty have already pre-approved. So if you were to go to Australia and attend the University of South Wales, for example, if you took this consumer behaviors course, you know it's approved as a management 190 class back at UCI. So that means you know you can use it towards your additional business electives area. Now, I'd say most of our faculty and most of our classes are approved as general business electives. It's very difficult to find specific emphases courses, and that's because there's a certain percentage that our faculty require for overlap in terms of what they're teaching in terms of content. And generally speaking, when you go to other countries, they have other things that they prioritize or emphasize in reviewing classes. But for example, at the University of Hong Kong, you could take this human resources theories and practice class, and it counts as a 124 course at UCI, which you would know counts as an organization management and emphasis class. Same thing, global marketing. This meets international business as well as a marketing course. So these are pre-approved classes that our faculty have already reviewed. They do not require petitions upon return. As long as you take that exact class and it's on this list, You would just let us know, like, hey, I completed this, send an DegreeWorks update form, and we would update your student record accordingly. Now, a great question that we get is, hey, Justin, I want to attend University of Hong Kong, but the class I'm interested in is not on this list. What can I do? Doesn't mean it can't be taken. There's also on that same business page, there's what's called a course substitution petition. And this is accepted every fall, winter, and spring quarter in the first 3 weeks. And you can submit, if you're able to get a hold of the syllabi for the course that you'll be taking, you can submit them and request that it be reviewed for potentially an emphasis requirement, or in general, want to use it towards a business elective. So it's just because the course is not found on that pre-approved list does not mean that it can't be used towards the business requirement. It just takes a little bit more work in terms of petitioning it. Generally takes about a quarter to have each petition reviewed, or in general, petitions take a quarter. So if you submit them by week 3, you generally get a decision by the end of that quarter. By week 10, you'll know whether or not that course is approved for something or not. But those are all found on the Study Abroad website. So we mentioned petitions are never guaranteed. We'd love to be able to say, yes, this can count for something. Unfortunately, we're not even able to say if we're sure or not, because all the petitions go to our faculty to be reviewed. So an advisor wouldn't necessarily have the foresight to say, yes, this potentially could count towards organization management, because our faculty would make that final decision at the end of the day. And I think that's the end of my talking portion. But if you ever have advising questions, again, you can come for appointments, you can stop for drop-in hours. You're more than welcome to reach out to us, and we're more than happy to help you all plan your business-specific classes or GE in general as well.
Okay. So when and how you apply, it's a lot sooner than you might expect. It could take 9 to 12 months to apply before you even go abroad. So there is a lot of pre-planning that's required, because we have to make sure you're ready and prepared and all that kind of stuff. Most programs are not competitive. So if you meet the eligibility requirements that are posted on the website, then you're going to be able to participate. But there are some that are, like Korea. Korea is very competitive. And so we do, work with us. We do encourage you, if you apply and you don't get in because it's a competitive program, we can always, try to get you in a backup option, things like that. And it is a 2-step process. That's the biggest thing we're trying to always tell students. You have to do 2 things. You have to apply to the program, like UCEAP is the name of the program. Like Alyssa was showing, University of Hong Kong, UCEAP University of Hong Kong would be the program that you're applying to. There's a portal you log in through and stuff like that. The second part of it is you have to receive campus approval. UCI requires all students to be approved to be able to do a global program. Most of our students are approved. I think 99.999% are approved, but you have to go through, answer some questions, and submit in our UCI portal for that piece of it. Most important deadlines are the application deadlines, the UCEAP applications. When they open, you want to apply right away. If it's a competitive program, make sure you apply by the deadline. Our campus approval is a little more flexible. The timing, we're open longer, or deadlines are a little bit wider than the UCEAP deadlines, or whatever other program you're applying to. I know it can be complex because it's not a simple just apply to one thing, but we can help you. If you're going to our website, you're like, I don't understand which to do first or second. It doesn't matter, but we're there to help you. We're to make sure you've done both. And we'll follow up with you too. If we see you submitted in one, not the other, we send a message. Make sure you do the other portal as well. And the key thing is, if you are thinking about studying abroad next summer or fall, or for the whole year, 25-26, the applications for UCEAP do open up in November. On the website, it'll list the exact dates. It varies by summer versus fall and year, but it is in November. And I encourage you to come in, check out our website right away. Like I said, some of those programs in Japan, Korea, some options in London, maybe some in Spain too, are very competitive. And so as soon as they open at 8 a.m., we have students logging in and submitting. It's unfortunately that quickly. So it's good that you all got in. That means you did it quickly. So just letting you know that. But I don't want you to panic. If you're going to Denmark or Italy or all these things, you're fine. You have time. You want to connect with us? We have a lot of students who do this all independently. You can go to our website, find the deadline, sign the forms to apply, and you're set. You never have to step in our office. But we know that the website isn't the easiest to maneuver, so we're there. We're here to help you. You can actually come in physically still to the Study Abroad Center, which if you're familiar with the Zottengo Market, we're right there, right across Ring Road from there. And we also offer walk-in days. We offer appointments that are virtual or in person. You meet with peer advisors, you can meet with professional staff, especially if you have particular questions that are like unique to your case or something like that. That is our website that has more info on how to connect with us. I did want to also highlight our Go Abroad Fair, which is another really good opportunity for you to connect with people from the provider side, the programs. We will have like 6 representatives from the UC EAP programs there to talk about the programs. We have a table of international students who are going to talk about their country. It's just a fair, like career fair, but this is study abroad fair. Come and talk, ask questions. There's a drawing opportunity too, and usually there's 3 pretty nice big prizes that are given out. Check out the QR code. If you register ahead of time, you get an extra ticket into the raffle, but you don't have to register. It's up to you. Check that out. See about it. And I think this is a survey for you all that you posted.
Yeah, so it's just a survey that we always ask for feedback, finding out what you all as students, obviously are looking for in terms of information sessions. Obviously, we have the wonderful opportunity of bringing Bonnie and the Study Abroad Center to the business school. So always trying to bring resources to you all here in the business school and making opportunities. Obviously, there's an opportunity. Bonnie lovely supplied lots of EAP swag. And so that'll be just, students that are randomly selected based off of the survey for the chance to win business school and study abroad swag if you fill it out. Obviously not required, but we always appreciate honest feedback and ways that we can continue to improve as a business school for you all because we serve you all as students. Yes, and even you all as individuals that we're speaking on behalf are welcome to enter.
So, I'll send you an email. We'll give you a swag item for helping.
I have something for you as well, Reed.
So I think we have time for questions. Is that right? So we have time for questions. You can ask me. You can ask Justin or our panelists. So any questions that you have lingering right now?
What's the minimum number of units that you need to study abroad?
It varies by person. So the question was, what's the minimum number of units they have to take to study abroad? So on some of the programs like UC EAP, they tell you very specifically you must be full-time, but it varies a great deal by program. So as you mentioned, if you're doing 3 weeks, it's going to vary versus if you're doing a semester that's 17, 18, 20 weeks. But it's fair to the time abroad. So if here at UCI, you're used to doing 3 or 4 classes, 12 units, 16 units, it's like that, but if you're there for a semester, it'll probably be 5 classes, 4 classes, 22 units because it's a longer period of time. So you're full-time there and we would let you know if you're curious about it. And sometimes you can even sub out a class for internship units, things like that.
And just one thing to add on to that is, I don't know if it messed up in my degree works, but from my 3-week program, I got 16 units. So like a full quarter. I don't know if that's supposed to happen.
No, it'll get fixed.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll get adjusted. That'll get adjusted. I think it's a placeholder that UC EAP programs put is 16 units. Actually, just to talk about units, I think a big question we get about is senior residency. Like at the University of California, all UC schools, all students must complete 36 of their final 45 units in residence. UC EAP programs are considered in residence and part of the University of California senior residency. So you can study abroad your final year and you're like, wow, I'm taking 40 units abroad. That's still part of your residence within the university. So you don't have to worry about senior residency studying abroad. I don't know about independent programs, but I know for sure UC EAP is part of that.
UC programs for sure.
UC programs for sure.
Non-UC is a different, but you can do them, but we just have to help you a little more.
I saw on the slide it said who's comparing tuition for California residents, but would it be similar if you're from out of state, like the cost of studying abroad? Is that the same or is it like slightly different?
Yeah, so if you're a non-resident, you would, when you do a UC EAP program, you would still have to pay non-resident tuition. What could be different is if you're doing a quarter abroad, it'd be the same non-resident tuition you're used to paying, but many of the programs are semester. So if you were at like Berkeley, they're on the semester system, it's their non-resident rate. So that's what throws some students off. I don't know what it is, but I think if it's an additional $10,000 per quarter, it's probably going to be like $14,000 because it's semester. It's a little bit longer, but that's the addition, is the non-resident tuition. So in some cases, students who want to save some money do an independent program, or they go outside the UC EAP system because then they're not paying non-resident fees. So it's like when I studied abroad, I went through San Francisco State. Never been to their campus, but they offered a study abroad program, open to anybody. I applied, it went through them, and they had none of that. They had no resident, non-resident fees. They just had a program fee, airfare, all of that stuff. There's differences. Financially, it doesn't carry over to an independent program, but for some students, it balances out. Okay, I didn't get aid, but I don't have non-resident fees, so now I'm at an even playing field. We can help you figure things out like that too. Other questions?
Apply to as many programs as you want.
That's another really good question. Can you apply to as many programs as you want? No, you need to choose one for the same term abroad. So you can't apply to 4 programs for fall semester 2025. You have to choose one. You can do back-to-back, and then you were mentioning what if you did Spain and then maybe the UK or something like that, if it's different terms. A fall and a spring, that's okay. We tell you to choose your top choice, and if you don't get in, especially because it's competitive, then we work really hard to try to get you into your next choice. And even if the deadline passed, if it wasn't your doing, the program filled up, we'll try really hard to work with you to get you